Hello, welcome to another one of our videos, and today I'm going to be showing you a video about how to use Swissballs, and I'm going to give you 16 different exercises you can use. Some of them are pretty easy, and then there's some that are really challenging. This first one, very common one to most people, it's just the kneeling forward ball roll. Greatly underestimated though, this one. It's actually a lot more than just about abdominal strength. This is actually really good for thoracic extension and learning to get the timing with the hips and the upper body to work together as a collective team with mobility and generating some basic stability. So this is a great one for a beginner, this one. So very simple exercise you can do in your own home. You can do that in your lounge room. If you wanted the harder version of sort of achieving a similar objective, would be the prone jackknife. So this one comes in a few variations. I'm showing you the standard one here. It's like in a push-up position, and basically you're just trying to roll that ball in till you get the hip in full flexion. So when it gets to about that point there, this is the easy part. So you want to get like full flexion here, right? So there's my spine. That'd be like my knee lifting up to my chest if I was standing. The most important part is when I kick the ball back. So when it gets to there, I want to be able to maintain that natural curve. I don't want to see my hips sag down and drop. This sort of kyphosis position here is actually very good for the shoulders to stay. That's where you would see the serratus anterior really driving the rib cage. So that's okay. You don't want to sort of get rid of that, all right? Probably the only other thing which might be a concern for me at times, you could sort of see when I come in a little bit then, if I just go back, when my hips come right in, you just want to make sure that you don't tuck under, all right, because that's when you'll see the people with the hip problems and disc problems in their lower back. That's a real issue, and that's a mobility restriction through the hip there. So you just might want to be a bit careful of that. I almost lose it on these, so I have to be a bit more strict with my form. All right, now a progression of this would be the skier. So you're sort of rotating it to the side. So you're going your left and your right. So it's basically sort of mimicking slalom skiing with a Swissball in a way, but it's just another variation you can use. Again, it's quite tricky when you do quite a lot of them in a row. And if I really wanted to take it up a notch, I can go to the single leg. And this is where you really notice leg strength is a huge issue here. Those quads and hip flexors will be like burning. All right, you mightn't get anywhere near as what you can do with a normal jackknife exercise. So far up to number 4. Then the next one, I'm going to show you a different variation again of another prone. So I'm showing you all the prone position ones. Prone just means face down. And then I'll show you all the upside down ones, which are the supine position, and then we'll go into standing position. So I'm showing you quite a few different variations here. This one's called the pike. This takes me a few goes, and again my mobility in my hip is terrible here, so I don't make this look as good as it should. A little bit like the downward dog in yoga, but you're just sort of rolling the ball. The abdominals are sort of really being generated to try and pull you in, but it's the thoracic extension which is a big part of this. And again, if I had more flex, you can sort of see how I round out. That's awful. I just don't have the mobility to get it. But if you had some good flexibility, that'd almost be dead straight like that. Right? You can sort of see how far off I am on this one. Probably not a good choice for me, this exercise. I'd be better off working on my flexibility with the hips and thoracic instead. But if you're someone that's got it, and maybe you love your downward dogs in yoga, this could be another variation you could try that's a lot harder. Really brings in the stability challenge a lot more, and obviously some strength to some degree as well. All right, so that's another variation you can use with the Swissballs. This next one's a bit of a unique one. This one doesn't really need a lot of strength. This one is a bit more of a mobility thing. It's great for sports actually. So if you play tennis and golf, this one we call a hip block. Is where you're really learning to explosively rotate through your hips and not use your lower back so much. All right, so there is sort of some lower back rotation to it, but you don't really want to over rotate. You're just trying to get like that explosive feeling. I've slowed down the video here a bit too much, so it doesn't really do it justice with the speed of it, but but you're trying to, because your arms are sort of fixed to the floor, you can't rotate through the thoracic as much as you want, but you will still feel it there. So it's a bit of a unique exercise. Again, not really a strength challenge, but a bit of a different one you can play with. Next one is a real challenge. All right, this is probably the hardest one so far. And to be honest, by the time, because I've been doing all these in a row, I'm starting to get a little bit tired doing this as well. This one's called Around the World. So there's a bit of a game. You need a fair bit of space though, all right? So, but this is a good one that you can try if you want a real challenge. All you've got to do is keep your feet on the ball. So don't let your shins roll back to the ball. That's what a lot of people do when they cheat on this. Make sure you if you've got shoes on, that you keep your shoelaces on the ball. And all you've got to do is just walk around in a circle, trying to keep that ball stuck in the middle there. So don't let it sort of roll with you. You've got to you've got to go around the ball. Very deceptive exercise, and actually a very good one for the shoulders as well. So you're really learning to create good shoulder stability in order to move that arm. It's almost like a single arm stability challenge that we would use for serratus anterior and scapular placement, but very, very difficult exercise. And if you really wanted to make it hard, you go clockwise, anti-clockwise. Or you could do what I've done, do it after everything else that all the other exercises we'd already completed. So quite a challenging exercise. So that'd be the hardest one I've shown you so far. Next one would be all of our supine sort of exercise. So it's where we're starting to go upside down. All right, so we're going to start getting like hip extensions and things like that. And they're all great exercises. Actually, sorry, one more I forgot. I did this one. This is another challenging one, the horse stance. So we would normally do this on the floor. And I would say for most people, you don't really need to do this. I just chuck this in as a bit of to show people that you can sort of create a more of a stability challenge. Just be confident. It's a bit risky if you're not confident on it. So don't do it if you're not confident. But basically it's that opposite arm and leg extending. And I'm just adding the Swissball to create that extra challenge to it. You can sort of see there I nearly rolled forward, and I've done this many times, so I don't find it risky to me at all. But I also probably don't find it as useful to me as the one with the cable on my leg. All right, so that'd be my horse stance one. Now we do the supine ones, which I was leading into a minute ago. So I can start with some easy ones on the floor, and then then a couple on the ball as well. So this first one's just your hip extension. So bridge is what some people might call it. You could do it on the floor. It's pretty much very similar. The only difference to the ball, you've got a little bit further range to move. So great sort of simple exercise for the glutes and hamstrings. A lot of people not very challenged with this. So that's when you might move to a single leg one. Now, when you do a single leg one, I normally would give someone a stick. I've done this many times before, so I'm quite okay with it, but this is a lot harder than it looks. All right, a lot of people can't control it. You sort of see, I nearly lost it then. A lot of people can't stop that ball rolling sideways. So this is a very difficult exercise if you don't have good stability and strength through not just your glutes and your hamstrings, but also through your core. All right, so there's a couple on the left leg, couple on the right leg. Most of these exercises, by the way, because they're more body weight, I would be aiming for like 10 to 15 reps, sort of erring on the side of endurance. And you could, except for say the single leg ones, like that single leg jackknife, that's pretty hard to do 15 of them. And this one's also pretty hard to get 15 out. But that's a couple of ways to do the hip extension. Then I might get my mat out and I lie on my mat for the first time, which to be honest I was actually looking forward to having a rest here after doing all these in a row. So this first one's a pretty simple one. Actually, all the ones on the floor are probably the easiest. This is where, your advantage of the person is a little bit lacking in strength and, maybe stability. These ones are a little bit easier to maintain. So this is just a leg curl, so a bit like just really trying to isolate the hamstrings. You still got a bit of glutes involved, to be honest, but to keep you up. The two leg one's quite simple. You should be able to get 15 reps of those. Again, if I go to single leg though, it's a big jump and you really notice the load just jumps up instantly. So 10 reps for most people is enough on this one. Very challenging exercise if you've got a weakness through that area. And then the next one I could use, this is like a simple wood chop variation of the Russian twist. It's actually given the name, and you're just very slowly rolling the ball from right to left. A bit of a hip stretch you get out of it, making sure you keep your shoulders flat on the ground with the palms facing up. So quite a simple exercise. Most people would be quite familiar with this one. Not really going to strain you all that much, but sort of can assist with some mobility, a little bit of abdominal strength, but not a great deal. All right, so that's another simple one you can use maybe in between the hard exercises. You could use this as a bit of a relief movement, so to give you a break, which I should have done earlier in between some of those other ones. So, and then once you've sort of finished with your sort of floor-based ones, you might want to look at some standing ones, which I'm going to move into in a second. And to be honest, I could give you 100 of these Swissball things, but I'm just showing you some of the main ones and give you a variation between really challenging and quite simple. So you've got like a good variety of things you can use. So first thing we'll do is the Swissball squat. So a lot of people are very familiar with this exercise. Unfortunately, a lot of people just do it very poorly as well. So you want to be you can sort of see I take a step back towards the wall. I don't want to be leaning back on the ball. That's the most important thing on this. I'm just using the ball to just ever so slightly assist me in maintaining extension in my upper back so that I don't fall over and turn it into a deadlift. So the key is at the bottom point here that I'm maintaining like the similar parallel line between my spine and my shin, my tibia there. All right, so if I can keep that, then I'm fine. If I'm leaning back on the ball though, if I'm at any point when I'm doing it, if my feet were here, out too far in front of me, I'd more than likely, when I get to the bottom, instead of my knees coming forward, you would more likely see me being in that position. That's awful for my hips and my back. I don't want to use that at all. All right, so if you're doing these wall squats, make sure you maintain the good squat form. Now, if I wanted to keep my back dead straight, I could do it as a lunge. This is quite a unique way to help someone to learn how to get the lunge. Just have the ball positioned quite high up on your back there. And you can see now that I am staying quite straight. So I am doing what I said not to do on the squat, but I do want to do that for the lunge. All right, so this is a unique way to get the ball to help you to maintain a really nice upright position. And you can sort of feel like how your head has to stay quite upright with it. The last one, so this is exercise number 16. This is just using a single leg squat, or a single leg deadlift, and I just placing the ball behind me. A lot of people might use a bench. I prefer to use a ball. Ball just encourages more stability, and I have to really maintain so that it doesn't tip me over from side to side. So we've done many videos with this exercise featured in it because it would be really the king of the glute exercises, and nearly everyone from an athlete playing sport to an older adult with balance problems, this exercise is amazing. So this would be one that everyone want to keep in their arsenal. It all should be aiming to do. And there's some great variations of football exercises. Some really challenging ones, some not so much. Just find the right ones for you. And and you can add them into your training and make your home training really interesting. You see, I didn't use anything else but a Swissball in all these exercises. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'll see you on our next one.